Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, ANITA FINLEY.
Celebrity writer, Dr. Darwin Porter. Good morning, Dr. Porter.
Oh, I don't mind the doctor title at all.
Well, you are a doctor. You know, I just received your incredible book. I just could not have ever believed that he was who he was. Amazing.
Yes, he.
Rock Hudson. Oh my God.
One of the most misunderstood actors in the world. And you asked if I knew him, and I did. And we've talked about him on your show. I want to do something a little different from all of our other shows right now about a lot of new, exciting developments. And I'd like to share some secrets about the second most famous baby boomer in the world.
Okay, we're waiting.
And I'll tell you, I have to lead into it. I was in the office, and I picked up, it was the office of Danforth Prince, my publisher and your friend, and I picked up his phone, and the man said, "I'm Steve Bannon. I want to speak to Danforth Prince." I didn't know who this was 2015. I didn't know who Steve Bannon was. And he later then made a dinner appointment in Manhattan. And the only thing I could figure out why he called is the Daily News had announced that I was doing a book on Hillary Clinton. And I think he was looking for some dirt on Hillary Clinton.
Oh.
And then within a year, I read in the papers that Steve Bannon was called the unofficial president of the United States.
Right.
So that is a fast rise to power. And then I followed that with the biggest book ever written on Donald Trump and the Trump dynasty. Well, this has led to an incredible change in my life. I may be the leading biographer of Golden Age Hollywood, but I don't want you to think I'm living in the past. In the last few weeks, I mean, if you want to know the latest on Moldavia, Cyprus, Tasmania, Zimbabwe, India, Montenegro, I'm your boy. I've just been meeting all of these people as a result of those two books. And this is my lead-in now. I met this world-class banker who's based in London. He flies to Moscow every month and makes many trips to Cyprus, which you know may be the money laundering capital of the world. And he told me some really interesting stories about Vladimir Putin, a lot of information that somehow doesn't quite make the press. And I wanted to share some of the revelations with you.
Oh, my gosh, this is amazing. Go.
Now, when I say he's the second most famous baby boomer in the world, we all know who the first most famous. Trump was born in 46, but Putin was born in 52, the year that Dwight Eisenhower ran and won the presidency of the United States. And but you know, a lot, even though he's called the most popular the most popular politician in the world. I mean, at one point when he invaded the Crimea, his popularity rose to nearly 90%. I mean, that is just almost unheard of. And there are a lot of contrasts between Trump and Putin. The main thing is Forbes magazine claims that Donald, our president, has exaggerated his income, but Putin is just the reverse. He listed his income as $113,000 a year.
Right.
Well, let me just give you one. Right now, he's building on the Black Sea Putin's palace, and it's already cost $1 billion. That's billion with a B. By the time it's finished, it may be the most expensive residence in the world. Now, he doesn't lack for a place to stay. He owns now 20 palaces throughout Russia. I mean, this is just unheard of.
It's insane, actually, Darwin. It's insane.
Oh, it's crazy. And then, of course, he has all the official residences, not only the Kremlin. A lot of people don't know that, but there's a White House in Moscow. He doesn't own those, but 20 villas and now this great palace. So somehow I suspect that he has more money than $113,000 a year. But at least he's being modest about it. And this banker, who I can't name him, it's not appropriate that I do that, but I also was very interested in Putin's private life because, most of the world, even though he's the second most famous man on the planet, a lot of people don't know very much about his private life. And he's had one, all right, but he married only one time. He married in 1983 in East Germany, rather lovely girl. I'm going to mispronounce her name because you have to be born in Russia to say her name, but it's like something like Ludmila. And he divorced her in 2013, and they had 2 daughters together. Those daughters, if all goes well, will one day be the 2 richest women in the world. There is a belief that Putin's, this could be exaggerated, Putin may be worth $200 billion. And as the way the banker explained it, it's like with companies in Russia, often oil companies. He sort of takes the cream off the milk, and through money laundering and various devices, he gets the money out of Russia, and I guess he places it in banks around the world. So those are going to be 2 very, very wealthy girls. I think they won't have trouble finding husbands. Now, when he was a KGB man in East Germany for 16 years, according to this banker, he didn't stay faithful to his wife. He was fond of sort of late teenage blonde German girls that he took to his private quarters. How can I say this delicately? Therefore, interrogation.
Right.
Are you with me?
Interrogation with no clothes on, right?
With no clothes on. But, now these are all young girls, but the most interesting thing is his new mistress. She's sort of famous. She's as notorious almost around the world as her nickname is the China Doll. And her name is Wendy Ding Murdoch, the 3rd wife of Press Baron Rupert Murdoch.
Really?
He married her. He was 37 years her senior, and she was born in about 1968. That'd make her. Oh, she must be. That would make her around 49 years old, I think. I'm never good at math, but I think, and that's unusual for him. She's a lovely woman. I've seen her a lot. She got her start on Fox TV. She came out of nowhere in China and just has risen to the top. Not only was she married to Murdoch, but he finally divorced her because she was having an affair with Tony Blair.
Oh, my.
Who was the Prime Minister of Great Britain.
Right.
And then Murdoch divorced her. And then, even though she didn't fit the teenager mold, she took up and became the mistress of Putin.
I wonder what she has. That's so great.
Well, whatever she has, she needs to package it.
I would say so. Wow.
But she is, if you can search her picture, she is she's appropriately called the China Doll, and I'm glad to know that he's happily living for the moment with a lovely woman.
Is she Eurasian or is she totally Chinese?
Totally Chinese.
I see.
Yeah, her parents were. Actually, she came from very poor and humble beginnings, and she worked. What I don't know, I know how she met Tony Blair, but I don't know how she got involved with Putin. But now, it's not in the press, by the way. And speaking of I had an ironic thing happen to me this morning. I was thinking of doing the show about Putin, and I fell asleep last night with the news on. I was watching MSNBC, and I woke up, and the Lawrence O'Donnell show was on, and I was surprised that he had a special guest. It was Lydia from the famous musical group Pussy Riot, and they are, of course, world famous. 5 years ago, when this group performed an anti-Putin rally in Moscow, 3 of the girls were arrested and put in prison, which made headlines around the world. But Lydia's out of prison now, and with her girls, they've got a new album out. And I had never seen her interviewed before, and it turned out she's not only anti-Putin, but she's anti-Trump. O'Donnell, I don't know if you saw the show last night, but
no, I was out. Sorry.
O'Donnell asked her, "What do you think of Putin and Trump?" And she said, "I would like to send them to the moon, but I would not want to contaminate the moon." She's a charming girl, but she still lives in Russia, and she still defies him. Now, there are enormous differences between Trump and Putin. For example, if Putin doesn't like you, you might end up in prison or poisoned or run over by a car. So there are enormous differences. And I'm sort of amazed that Putin is so popular in his country, not in the world. The world is sort of terrified of him. And the banker said that his main ambition, he really has a dream that he wants to restore the Soviet Union. And he's already taken over parts of Georgia. Obviously, I don't mean the southern state of Georgia.
Right.
And he not only took over the Crimea, but is moving into East Ukraine. And I mentioned earlier these people in Moldavia, which is such a tiny little country now, next to Romania, and they have U.S. envoys there trying to prevent the little country of Moldavia from falling into the arm of the Russian bear, but also he became furious when Montenegro joined NATO. One of my best friends is who also lives on Staten Island, but she has 3 estates in Montenegro, and she goes there often. She's the richest woman in Montenegro. I don't know what she's doing with me.
She lives in Staten Island. That's interesting.
Well, she's even building a skyscraper over here, but she's my age, by the way. I sort of admire how she's carrying on. Most women could be sort of maybe at home or retiring, and she's out contemplating a skyscraper now.
I love it. Well, you have such interesting friends.
I'm a great believer in senior citizens carrying on, and but anyway, I wanted to share those things with you because we didn't know a lot about his personal wealth, or Putin's personal wealth, or I don't think a lot is even known about his private life, because none of this appears in the Russian press.
I'm getting a feeling, Darwin, that there's a Putin book coming.
No.
No?
No. I actually, believe it or not, even though writing about Hillary and Trump has brought many interesting people into my life, in the time I have, I really want to continue to write star books about the golden age of Hollywood because I have many, many boxes of material that I've gathered over my world travels and about stars that have never been their lives have never been fully explored. Say, John Wayne, yes. Gary Cooper, no. Meaning we don't really know a great deal about Gary Cooper's life. Or I've just come out with the two, Rock Hudson and Lana Turner. They were world-famous stars, and their full life has never been documented. However, I may veer away from political books, but my bosses have come up with a new project for me that I've got. First, right now, I'm doing the mother-daughter showbiz book of all time, Debbie Reynolds and Carrie Fisher.
Right.
What a story.
Really?
You know, Debbie was not what she appeared to be.
In what way?
Well, she was secretly called the Iron Butterfly. You know, she was not Tammy.
Ah.
In fact, I've seen her last appearances, you know, they had to bleep her a lot. She said all the F words and the A words, and then she would look so sweet in the camera, like, did Tammy really say that? But then, now Hugh Hefner died. And, in fact, I sent a column to you on Hugh.
I have it. That's right. I'm looking at it right now. It was this month.
Well, my bosses have come up with an idea that, as you know, I did the Linda Lovelace book on the star of Deep Throat. Well, they want a 3-book package of. I know it sounds like porno, but it's not porno at all. I mean, the story of Linda Lovelace was not necessarily porno. It was about the rise of feminism and the end of movie censorship in America. Well, these bosses certainly want a book on Playboy's Hugh Hefner, and which will also concentrate on the legal battles that he had to end censorship in the America that ended with the Ronald Reagan, Ed Meese going after him in the 80s, and the various causes he promoted, and also the wild and reckless lifestyle. But they want it to be a trilogy because they also want a book, which is throwing me off my regular plans, on the so-called kings of smut, and who also fought major battles, many going to the Supreme Court. That would be Bob Guccione of
Right.
Penthouse Magazine, Larry Flint of Hustler Magazine, who is still alive. Jerry Falwell hauled him into the Supreme Court and lost. And another one you may not have heard of, Al Goldstein, who lived on Staten Island, and I knew him. He went to the greatest extreme of all and published Screw Magazine, which was widely read. People would stand by the newsstands waiting for the delivery of Screw Magazine, and he showed me his autobiography, and it's the only I've read hundreds of autobiographies, and I've never seen one that carried a picture. He has a picture in his autobiography of Linda Lovelace committing fellatio on him. Now, that is a first for me.
Oh, I would say that also.
And
wow, so that's what you're going to do now that you finished Rock Hudson?
Well, now, when I finish Debbie and Carrie.
Oh, yeah, right, after that?
But now, believe it or not, these 3 books may be taught in universities because they now have censorship classes in universities. They didn't have that when I went to the University of Miami. And these 3 books will document the end of censorship, which has had a profound effect on American life, if you think about it.
Yeah, it has. Wow, this is very exciting stuff for you.
you can get stuff on television. Remember, as late as 1959, a man and a husband and wife could not be depicted in bed together. As late as 1959. And in other words, Desi and Lucy had to be in twin beds. Well, have you seen any movies lately?
Right. No, that's true. My goodness. That's so, yeah. So you have a lot of history there to go and tell. Well,
in a way, because it did change America.
Yep.
I mean, it completely changed America. And these things, now, Hefner was a class act, but, you know, all these things are carried to extreme. Al Goldstein then went to the far frontier where no one had ever gone before. And he had his battles. The mayor of New York at the time, John Lindsay, sent 7 policemen to arrest him at his publisher's office.
Really?
But so it's an interesting story about how American. I've taken the job. I mean,
you're taking the job. Oh, this is going to be incredible.
So anyway, I will be. Oh, I think I wrote in the article. I wish I had saved my Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah,
edition.
I saw that. It's worth a lot of money, right?
$25,000
right.
For the original. It's got to be original, but $25,000. And God, if I'd gone around to the newsstand.
Well, Darwin, I have to just tell you that this was a very exciting program. Now, you have hit it all. I learned a lot more about Putin, and now I know what you're going to be doing. And I just can't tell you how thrilling all this is. The only thing is when you send us columns now with Alan Goldstein, you can't send us any pictures of his behavings.
No.
Of his behavior, right?
But can you believe he lives near me?
Yeah, well, you live in the right place.
He was not a class act. I mean, you know, sometimes when a movement begins, someone always carries it to an extreme.
Sure.
But at least he did battle the forces, and it's almost I'm amazed now what is shown on TV. See, I grew up in an era, you know, the production code that began in Hollywood in 1934 lasted almost until 1960.
Amazing. Yep, you really have covered this. We feel so privileged to have you tell us all these things that we're going to eventually read, I suppose, or learn on TV. But thank you, Darwin. It's just been absolutely wonderful talking to you this morning. I look forward to some more personal conversations.
Anita, you sound like you have a good show. And all the
Thank
best.
you. Well, you're my best. You started off great.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye.